my name's Corinne, and today I'm going to be focusing on knife skills. The recipe that I found for today is a Mexican bean salad, and so I am going to be cutting up peppers, onions, lemon and lime, and also cilantro. The recipe calls also for 3 different types of beans, corn kernels, and then the ingredients that are needed to make the dressing. I use a lot of vegetables when I cook. And I thought that this lesson was really interesting because I never knew the proper technique, and I know that this is something that will actually come in handy when I'm cooking. So to start off, I want to go ahead and do a little bit of proper maintenance on my knives. I didn't know about a honing steel before this class, so I know that my knives are not in the greatest condition for cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the honing steel, and I'm going to focus on my first knife, which is my chef's knife. This is the one that I'll do most of the work with. Also known as the workhorse knife. So I'm going to go ahead and position the honing steel on the rag, and I'm going to put the back end of the blade against the honing steel at a 30 to 35 degree angle, and I'm going to go ahead and pull back in one fluid motion. I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side also, and I'm going to go ahead and do that 3 or 4 more times. And what this is actually doing is not sharpening the knife, but the spurs on the blade of the knife have actually been bent, and that's what gives the dullness when you're cutting. So this is actually straightening them out, so it'll make cutting more efficient and a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and do that with my paring knife also. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to position at a 30 to 35 degree angle. I'm going to pull back. And once I'm done with that, I want to wipe off both of the knives on the rag in case parts of the blade that had come off, so it doesn't accidentally get in the food while I'm cutting. And I'm going to do the same thing on the honing steel because the honing steel is actually magnetic. The first thing that I'm going to cut today is the red pepper that the recipe calls for. I'm going to go ahead and use the wall method to cut this. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is make sure that I have a proper grip on my knife. So I'm going to place my thumb and my forefinger on the back end of the blade and let my fingers wrap around the handle of the knife. And so for my left hand, I want to go ahead and use the claw method. And usually I would put my thumb on the cutting board because it would give support and a pivot point while I'm cutting. But this pepper is a little bit tall, so I'm going to put it on the side of the pepper. Make sure I'm also in the proper stance. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to have my right foot back. I'm going to be heel to toe and have my shoulders out shoulder width apart, and this gives me room for cutting, for motion, and also relieves tension in the shoulder. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and make a motion down to cut the pepper. I'm going to go ahead and turn it. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. I need to sharpen my knife a little bit more. I'm going to do that on this side of the pepper also. And I'm going to go ahead and lay down this side because there's not that much support left, and I'm going to cut through. And actually what I am going to do, I am going to sharpen this knife a little bit, or straighten it just a little bit more. And now that I have that, I want to cut out the white part in the pepper because that is going to be a little bit bitter, and we don't really want that. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and work to chop the pepper. And to do this, I'm going to cut through the meat side of the pepper and leave the skin side down on the cutting board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have my claw, and I'm going to do a motion back. Because I'm a beginning cutter, I'm going to make sure that I drag the back of the blade on the cutting board to make sure that I cut through the pepper all the way. I'm going to position the pepper in a bundle with the flesh side up again, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut through to make my dices. I'm going to make sure I pull all the way through because I'm still a beginner. Make sure that I cut all the way. And once I have that, these are ready to go. The thing I'm going to cut is the onion. I'm going to go ahead and use my paring knife, and I'm going to cut off the stem. So once I get the stem, I'm going to pull back. And what this does is it gives me a nice cleaning line. And then I'm going to do that on the root end also, but I actually want to keep a lot of the root because we're going to need that when we cut the onion. So I'm going to go ahead and cut through the root mainly, but then I'm going to peel back again. And once I have that, it gives me a good cleaning line that I can use the paring knife to peel back the rest of the layers. Rest of the outer layer. And then now I'm going to go ahead and use my other knife again, and I'm going to cut right through the middle of the root. So I did my motion. I'm still a beginner. And now I'm going to take the onion and I'm going to position the root away from me. And I'm going to cut along the line. I'm going to make sure I don't cut all the way to the root because I want to keep that there. So that my onion will still be intact for now. And then what I'm going to do is use my claw again, and I'm going to cut through the pepper, and this should give me, and cut through the onion, excuse me, and this should give me some nice cuts that I can go ahead and put into my mix. Right now is I want to cut the cumin, the cilantro. I'll add the cumin later. And a trick to do this is to go ahead and roll it all together so that it doesn't come apart. I'm going to lay it down on the cutting board, and I want to use my chef's knife, and then I can chop the cilantro to the dressing. So I'll go ahead and add that in there. I need to add some lemon and lime juice, and I'm just going to cut through the lime. So I'm going to do the same thing with the lemon, and I'm going to cut just right through the middle. Then I can go ahead and squeeze that into my dressing. Then I'm going to go ahead and squeeze in, add a lot of lime juice. Pour the dressing over the rest of the salad and just mix that up. And the last step in the direction is to go ahead and chill that for an hour and then serve cold. So that's it. I use the knife skills. And I'm still a beginner, but thanks Chef for teaching us these because I know it'll come in handy in the future when I cook.